The journey along the Silk Road continues. The host of today's program is not Aziza Aybadulina, but another presenter. How about that? First, you need to visit the Mausoleum of Arystanbab and then go to the Mausoleum of Khoja Ahmet Yasawi. Thank you. Maybe you will become our second presenter and I will take some time off, please. But this situation could become a reality if that girl agreed. Don't worry, the program is filmed by the same crew, only one cameraman's hair turned a little grey. So what have we seen in the last episode? We visited Turkestan and saw how it was transformed, visited the Mausoleum of Khoja Ahmet Yasawi and the ancient settlement of Sauran, as well as tried to protect the Saksaul from extinction. This episode will be about the Mausoleum of Arystanbab, the great city of Otrar, and the glorious Shymkent. Stay tuned. We are already 60 kilometers away from Turkestan and 150 kilometers from Shymkent, not far from the village of Shaulder, Otrar district. This is the place where one of the main shrines of the Kazakh land is located, the Mausoleum of Arystanbab. The word Bab is translated as the Gate of Divine Revelation. This title was given to Sufi saints. There is even such an expression. There are 30 Babs in Otrar, but they are countless in Sairan. There were a lot of legends associated with Arystanbab, and now it is no longer possible to understand which one is true and which one is a lie. Maybe the mausoleum will help us. When we first got acquainted with the image of Arystanbab, it seemed to us that he is some kind of magician who has the gift of reincarnation. He is a gardener and teaches Muhammad how to plant gardens. Then he is friends with lions and even rides them. Then he is a saint who roams the earth and has supernatural powers. It is the image of the saint that we trust the most. No wonder Arystanbab is considered the main figure in the hierarchy of saints of Central Asia. In general, by pilgrimage standards, we made a huge mistake. First, you need to visit the Mausoleum of Arystanbab and then the Mausoleum of Yasawi. The fact is that when Tamerlane was building Mausoleum of Khoja Ahmet Yasawi, something constantly went wrong with it. And then he received a revelation in a dream that first he needs to build a mausoleum for the teacher and then for the student. So he did. But unfortunately, there was practically nothing left of that mausoleum due to a strong earthquake. According to the legend, Arystanbab died and was buried in the vicinity of Otrar in the 12th century. Probably during that time, his first mausoleum was built. There is no reliable information about it, and in the 14th century, Tamerlane began the construction of the Mausoleum of Arystanbab. However, subsequently the monument was restored several times, the last time in 1971. And now the Mazar looks different from the one that was built by Emir Timur. The only thing that has survived to this day in its original form is 3 carved columns of Ivan. 2 of them are stored in the mausoleum and 1 in the Museum of Almaty. On the way from the gates of the mausoleum to the building itself, an unusual worshipper of the Mausoleum of Arystanbab got into the lens of our camera. Aziza, as a well-known animal specialist, immediately came up with 3 versions on who it could be. Oh, groundhog. Or who is it? You see? Weasel. Oh la la. What a sweet one. This is some kind of ferret. Most likely it was a groundhog. These animals often appear on the video blogs of local pilgrims. By the way, you can see the Red Book representative of this type of species, the marmot of Menzbeer. For hunting for this animal, you will face criminal liability in the form of 1.5 years probation and a fine of almost 700,000 tenge. We were not going to shoot anyone, just observed the funny animal. Let's get back to the mausoleum. What the building is like right now. In terms of general plan, the building is stretched along the facade and consists of 2 parts, the north, the mausoleum, and the south, the mosque. To honor the memory of the saint, many worshippers from different parts of Central Asia come here. So what kind of rituals are necessary to perform at the mausoleum? Worshippers come here to pray, drink brackish healing water from an old well, and stay here to spend the night. Entrance to the museum will cost you 200 tenge. In the meantime, we'll try some water. Ah, wonderful! It is said that this water is especially useful for the treatment of diseases of the gastrointestinal tract. Many not only drink water from the well, but also fill various containers with it and take it home. But be careful. Old-timers warn that if a black precipitate forms at the bottom, you should not drink this water. Myra Rakenbekova shared her impressions of the water from this sacred well.
Я глотнула этой воды.
Once I swallowed this water, I could neither eat nor drink for a day until I returned home. I couldn't eat anything at all. Well, how to explain it? I do not know, but I took some water from the well in a bottle from there, brought it with me. Water stood for a long time. Just like they take some water on Epiphany today, it really stays in the same condition for a year, nothing changed. So this water too stood for a year and nothing happened to it. Before entering the mausoleum, you need to go through the obligatory ablution ceremony, in which we will take part now as soon as our turn comes. Today, Aziza's stomach will thank her. We have already tried the healing water, now it is the turn for kumis. How to live in Kazakhstan for 28 years and never try kumis. Different types of milk are sold at the entrance, and now I'm ready to try only mare's milk.
Лошадиная. Давайте.
It's like yogurt. Did you add something to it? Why is it salty? This is fermented milk.
Как это? Доят и все? Почему она соленая?
Ah, delicious.
Вкусно.
But of course, coconut milk at Starbucks is closer to my heart. If you want to buy traditional dairy products, then at the Mausoleum of Arystanbab there is someone who can help you. Local farmers bring here the most delicious and fresh food products. In addition to kumis, there are several types of kurt, shubat and ayran. Our drivers and expedition members also could not refuse to try all of it. Scientists believe that Arystanbab is a semi-legendary figure of Turkic mythology. There are two more holy places associated with his name, one in Kyrgyzstan and the other in the lower Sirdarya. Maybe next time we will also get there. In the meantime, we say goodbye to the holy place, and with the blessing of Arystanbab, we leave for the once great city of Otrar. The roads during the expedition were different, concrete autobahns and country tracks. It's more comfortable to drive along the concrete autobahns, but it is on bad roads that a real spectacle unfolds, worthy of the Silkway Rally. The roar of engines, clouds of dust and excited faces of drivers. It was a hard time for cars. Well, it's understandable. We drove through such passes off-road, but the car did not disappoint. We're grateful to it. There were some minor obstacles, but there is always something like that. The drivers were entertained, the passengers too, and in the meantime, we can already see Otrar ahead. We are now in the homeland of Arystanbab and Al-Farabi, in the place where Tamerlane ended his life, in the city that the Mongols burned, but it rose from the ashes. We are in Otrar, France. Wow, too many cool names and events for one place, don't you think?
Для одного места.
I even got nervous. I will have something to drink. Near the main gate, Aziza decided to take an epic photo. And you don't hesitate. Repeat the photo, post it with hashtag across Central Asia, and wait for cool prizes. The hill fort is located in the lower reaches of the Aris River at its confluence into Sirdarya near the modern village of Talabti. The heyday of the city falls on the first 13th centuries. By the 13th century, Otrar was a prosperous settlement with a population of about 200,000 people. It is known as the only major city in Kazakhstan where gold, silver and bronze coins were minted. Coins were supplied to all countries of Central Asia. The presence of the mint proves the political and economic independence of Otrar. But the Mongol invasion suspended its development. In history, the siege of Otrar is commonly called the Otrar disaster. There is written evidence that the ambassadors of Genghis Khan were executed here, and because of this, in 2019 the city was besieged by Mongol forces under the leadership of the sons of Genghis Khan. The siege lasted 6 months. Famine began in the city. One night, one of the inhabitants of the city opened the gate to the Mongols. The Mongols, who then captured the city, destroyed a significant part of the population. The remaining residents were taken into slavery. The city itself was burned and destroyed. The traitor named Karaj, who opened the city gates, was personally executed by the son of Genghis Khan, Joly. In the work of Mukhtar Shadkhanov, Otrar poem about the conquered winner, there are lines about the fate of the traitor and an explanation of why he did this. Who forgotten the holy covenant of ancestors? And woe to him who broke the covenant. A child that was born on his native earth still hasn't ripened for the struggle and adversity, still hasn't realized that the people are sacred, still hasn't learned that the land is sacred, as well as its rivers and hills and fields. He must breathe the air of his homeland, where his mother gave birth to him in the agony of the earth. Forgot the covenant, and the reckoning is terrible. Fate was evenly settled with me. Glory is lost, and honor is taken away. The coming centuries are full of revenge. A beautiful story about love for the native land, but modern archaeological research of Otrar suggests that literature and medieval chroniclers romanticized the history of the city's siege. To what conclusions did scientists come? After the capture by the Mongols, only the citadel was destroyed and most of the outer long wall was torn down. This wall was not immediately discovered by archaeologists because it was on the outskirts of Otrar. Shakristan survived, and after a short period of desolation, the residents returned to their homes. The myths around Otrar do not end with the hyperbolization of the Otrar disaster. Do you want to hear the tale of a non-existent library? Aziza is a talented storyteller. They say that the Otrar library was in no way inferior to the Alexandria library and carried about 33,000 books. But during the Mongol invasion, all the books had to be transferred to the dungeon. There is a legend that says that a 7-year-old boy will find this library. I have one in mind. My son will be 7 years old next year. We'll come here, we'll find the library, and maybe even get rich. The legend of the library arose relatively recently in the 70s of the 20th century. In 1971, an article called Otrar Mounds was published in the magazine Around the World, the authors of which mentioned the dungeon where the poet Kisamuddin hid all the Otrar books. Architect Almas Odabayev suggests that there could have been a library, but its scale is exaggerated.
Без мифов мы не можем. Так вот. Раз в этом Отраре был некий вилаят,
We cannot live without myths. Since there was a certain province in Otrar, and if the Hakim had this library, or whatever he was called at the time, This version is true by 50-50%. But the version that there was a library where everyone could come and read something, this, of course, just could not be.
Каждый что-то почитать, такого, конечно, не было и быть не могло.
In support of his words, Almas Odabayev talks about the tradition book depository for any Eastern place, Kitabkhana.
Что такое китабхана была?
What is Kitabkhana at the rulers' palaces? This means that by the library there were 5 to 6 scribers. At the time they didn't print books yet. Along with scribers, there were 5 to 6 artists who drew different illustrations. But these publications were very expensive. They were somehow presented to nobility or remained with the owner, and also 5 to 6 people who in general took care of the whole process. This was also a place where people gathered from time to time, listened to and played music. This was the Eastern Library.
Библиотека восточная.
We all know that near Otrar, in the village of Vesij, the famous philosopher, mathematician and music theorist Al-Farabi was born. It is he who is credited with the foundation of the Otrar Library. But there is also a discrepancy. Farabi left Otrar at a young age and never returned.
Фараби почему уехал оттуда?
Why did Farabi leave? Well, what do you think? Why did he die in Baghdad and not in Otrar? Again, the best times of Otrar was the era of the Samanids. Then when the Karakhanids came, they, as I said, did not destroy anything. Maybe the city would have continued to live on, but on the contrary, it has gradually faded. Baghdad, during the time of Al-Farabi, was a major educational and cultural center and a place of concentration of intellectuals of the East. There were schools where people translated the work of such philosophers as Plato, Aristotle and Euclid. There Al-Farabi studied medicine, logic and Greek language. The scientist's legacy includes scientific treatises on philosophy, social ethics, musicology, mathematics, science and philology. Farab or Otrar can be proud of his son.
Хорошо, что он в своем имени написал.
It is good that he wrote at Turkey in his name, so we really have the right to say that he is our relative. Of course, he was not Kazakh. He is considered a Persian scholar exactly because he lived during Samanids' reign in the east. There is another important event that made Otrar famous. Emir Timur, a powerful conqueror, ended his life here at the age of 69. Almas Odabayev explained why the role of Timur's personality in the history of the steppe should not be taken unambiguously.
Во-первых, то, что его вот эти вот тяжелые, очень тяжелые.
First of all, because he had difficult relationships with his relatives from the northern steppes. He also was the one who helped Tokhtamesh to rise and become powerful, but then he was also the one who destroyed him. He then destroyed all opportunities for Muslims, Turkic people. For success in the north, he also defeated the Turks. That is, he caused a lot of irreparable troubles to our Turkic world.
То есть он нанес нашему тюркскому миру очень много непоправимых.
The cause of death of the great commander is unknown, but with his passing, the political situation on the Asian continent has changed radically. Everything that was found during the excavations of Otrar is stored in the State Reserve Museum of Otrar. It is located on Jibek Joly Avenue in the village of Shaolder. We visited the museum. It is located in a 3-story building. The exhibition shows the ancient Otrar and archaeological sites associated with the history of the city until the 18th century. The pride of the museum is diorama Otrar Siege, where the events of the great opposition of the city to the Mongol conquerors are recreated. Ceramic dishes, candlesticks, household items and decorations are widely represented here. Household utensils, clothes, tools are regionally woven into the decoration of yurts, the national home of nomads. Otrar survived the attack of the Dzungars in the 18th century and existed until the beginning of the 19th century. Such a centenarian city is not that common in the Kazakh steppes. We leave the ruins of the ancient city to continue exploring the routes of the Great Silk Road. Follow our Across Central Asia hashtag. What is modern Shymkent? At the same time that Turkestan became a regional center, Shymkent was given the status of a city of republican significance. Shymkent has always been a strategic point on the border with Uzbekistan and deserves a special position. But according to the law, republican status was assigned only to a city with population over 1 million people. Shymkent deserved this status due to its population increase on June 1, 2018, thanks to a girl named Aysulu Yanamanova. What is interesting in Shymkent for tourists? If you find yourself in Shymkent, be sure to visit the Arboretum. It was opened back in 1979. Initially, this park was conceived as an arboretum with more than 600 species of trees and shrubs and herbaceous plants. In 2008, this place underwent a global reconstruction. It led to the appearance of water cascade in the park, which turns into the waterfall Kingdom of Love. Now, no wedding photo shoot is complete without an arboretum, and then a new tradition arose to make wishes under the waterfall. After reconstruction, the Arboretum was included in the list of national parks of Kazakhstan, thus giving it the status of a specially protected area. Among the architectural innovations in Shymkent, we should mention a mosque. It was built with the money of a charitable foundation from the United Arab Emirates. The uniqueness of the central mosque is that it accommodates up to 3,000 people. The mosque is located in the western part of the city. Along with the site, it occupies almost 3 hectares of land. The area of the building is more than 8,500 square meters. The single complex includes a bathing room, an imam's house, and a boiler room. The central mosque with a high minaret tower, which is crowned with a huge white dome, has become one of the most beautiful buildings in Shymkent. Its calling card. The city attracts tourists with unusual events such as Seil Koshkarata and the Tulip Festival. The first one is a tribal sheep competition. For guests of the city, there is a show where the strong man squats with a sheep snack. The second festival honors the symbol of the city, the tulip. On this day, masterclasses in selection and cultivation of tulips, photos and exhibitions of artists, artisans, competitions of florists, children's drawings and fashion shows are held. And finally, of course, we should mention food. Because nowhere else in Kazakhstan you will find such a variety of cafes and restaurants with the optimal combination of price and quality. You can really eat deliciously in Shymkent. There are available products, always fresh vegetables and fruits, and friendly cooks. We wish Shymkent in its new status to have great victories and achievements. And our expedition moves on. It's nice to end the release with delicious food and hospitable people. Let's summarize the release. Arystanbab, we figured out who is hiding behind the legendary figure. In the Mausoleum, Aziza participated in ablution ritual and tasted water from the ancient well. Otrar. Was there an Otrar disaster? Was there a public library equal to Alexandria in its scale? What was the city like at the time of Al-Farabi and Great Timur? And finally, Shymkent. What places are a must for a visit and what kind of local festivals won't leave you indifferent? Ahead of us is the fabulous Uzbekistan. We'll just take a short break and then get on the road again.